Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. For this week's episode, we are going to be breaking down the concept of jealousy versus inspiration, because there's a very fine line that one must toe before one becomes the other. One is great. I think inspiration is like a good motivating factor, but one is, can easily turn into jealousy, which becomes more negative. And I just want to have like an open discussion with you guys about the two concepts, maybe how we've experienced both in the past and when we've noticed things turning more into jealousy where it's not beneficial to us, and times where we've been more inspired, and how we can talk through how to remain more on like the inspiration side, help you guys with that. I also did post on our Instagram for you guys to share your thoughts and insights on this discussion as well, that we will share at the end.
I feel like a lot of this stems from just the fact that we live in a day and age where like most everything that you do and see is online, and so just like you're bombarded with so much more input from people you wouldn't normally have any idea who they were, and it's all the time, every day, constantly, and it just takes up more space in your brain. But like Ciera was saying, there are people that I follow or admire online, and like their source of inspiration that I'm, they're motivating, but then also sometimes, jealousy rears its head and you're just like envious a little bit of what they have or
the ugly
how
green
they
monster.
display. Yeah.
So before we get into the bulk of the episode, we like to do our reading updates, spotlights, catch up, all sorts of fun stuff. I will share my spotlight because this is kind of a joint spotlight for the two of us.
It just happened.
Megan, it's fresh on my mind. I just need to talk about it. So Megan and I got our first like real inquiry, I would say, regarding someone wanting to...
If you guys don't... I know we've shared on the podcast before, but like it hasn't obviously been a large discussion. But Ciera and I are trying to work on building up our own mobile startup PT clinic.
It's also concierge physical therapy, because the idea is that we're doing outpatient services within the comfort of someone's home. So it's not home health, because there are certain insurance requirements for that we don't abide by. But it's essentially, if someone were to go to like a freestanding clinic, we are providing that service but within their home.
It's called Limitless Rehab. Check it out. But we've been obviously just like in like kind of the building marketing stage still. And we're ready to see patients, but there have been like a couple back end things too that we're also still trying to
like, it wouldn't be the worst thing if
on the business end
patients like held off for a little bit, because like at this point it's like things are going to get clogged up to a certain point in our back end process,
just
that,
from something
if we need patients to like, if we have delayed starts to patients, like it would decrease the clogging we have back there,
but we are
just
able
kind
to
of helpful. But patients. To the patients it doesn't really matter. To us it just would be kind of a bit of an admin hassle.
Yeah,
but that's clearing
we'll
up,
work with it as it comes.
But we got a phone call from someone's wife who was seeking out our services, thinking that we might be beneficial. And I obviously don't give too much insight, but just like the way she was describing her husband and like what kind of services he would benefit from, I was like, this sounds like our kind of guy. Like, this is exactly the person that we had in mind when, thinking of who would benefit from Limitless. So even if this doesn't work out, which like fingers crossed it will,
it's nice to have a lead.
It's nice to have like, it just takes one thing to like say, okay, this can actually happen. Like, this can work, And I feel like, there have been times where I've not been like doubtful, but like, I think
like we're just realizing like it's a slow build up, and at some, sometimes you're just kind of like, again, I don't think we've been down on ourselves. Like, we just started this. So like
you're trying to figure out what works. Like, what is like the, best marketing strategy? What's going to be something that helps like reel more people in than not? Like, what's going to be the best strategy? And like, I feel like once we find our footing with that, and obviously like once we start building up clientele, and like word of mouth referrals will become more of a factor.
Right. And I think we've done a couple like marketing wise. I think that we've both determined, which this has been a little bit limited, but we've had stuff set up. It just hasn't been like as soon as we would have liked. But in-person stuff is probably going to be like the most beneficial way for us to get our names and faces out there. And so we still have, stuff lined up and in the works for that. So hopefully we can just continue to get and build some more referrals and get our caseload going.
Yeah.
And then once we get Ciera a little bit busier, that'll be so exciting.
Oh, Megan, you need to help in a little bit or help out a little bit. So that was, again, just like a really exciting moment for us, and just to like realize, like, I feel like half the time I don't have like a good like example for this, but like I feel like I'm like, a chicken running off my head cut off of like, oh my God, like, what do I do? Like, we haven't had someone like, seriously reach out. We've had like a few like nothing Facebook messages from like when we did Facebook ads, but those were like not serious inquiries. So this is like a real, like I talked to her, so it's real. And I'm just excited. I'm hopeful it works out. And it's just like something that's kind of reigniting that fire and that
Ciera's been staying busy though.
Yeah. I was going to talk to you guys about
you guys
what I've been doing.
Have been seeing our vlogs.
So Week in Our Life was just posted. I'm currently unemployed. I'm just kidding. But the first...
You've got a lot of alternative employments going on.
I've got different hats that I'm wearing. So that's what I was going to talk to you guys and update you guys on. I have my PRN job that I've had for like literally 3 years. So I'm still doing that. Initially when I had my full-time job, it was just like 1 weekend a month I would go in and fulfill my requirement. But now that I have more availability, I get to be like, I don't want to work on the weekends. So I can easily fill my 8-hour requirement on like other PTO days, or like whenever they have extra high caseload, then like they just pull some people in. So I've been doing that, and I have some dates already scheduled for like when they need me for the rest of January, February. And then I've got 2 PRN jobs. One is like pretty well fully set up where I'm like going and starting to do like observation / stepping in and like helping with evals and stuff. And then they'll show me hopefully how that documentation system works. I think it's just Epic, but I haven't done Epic in a long time, so I need to be
fairly straightforward.
Taught that. And then I've got another like home health one that is still like, that one would probably be like a slower start than the other 2 are like more set in stone. So that's kind of, aside from Limitless, I would love to, have Limitless take up so much more of my time, but you girls got to make money somehow. So those are my cups are at right now.
And I'm still just working my job full time as of right now. But it's been good. I feel like this has actually been working out surprisingly well, given we didn't really anticipate this being the hours we would disperse to it, but it's been going well.
Yeah.
My weekly spotlight, not that was not my spotlight as well. I upgraded my bedding setup, and I actually made a TikTok about that. And so I have kind of been wanting to get a new mattress, but I don't really want to spend the money on a new mattress. And so I went to Target and I got a mattress pad, and then I got like some new sheets and a new duvet cover. And I just like redid the whole thing.
I feel like
I had a good night's sleep last night.
I know you just bought this mattress tower, but and someone commented on your TikTok, but like you could totally reach out to like a random mattress company and like a lot of them have like inquiry stuff and be like, you want to send me a mattress? And
I probably could
do whatever.
Maybe that's in my future. If you guys see a mattress sponsorship from me here shortly, just know
where it started.
It started here.
Okay. Any other highlights as far as stuff we did over the weekend? It's freezing cold here. Oh, I have something I can talk about.
I also have something else I can say.
So you guys know I'm still at half marathon training. I just finished week 5 of 13, and it is below freezing in Des Moines right now. And typically I like
You know who told me they just ran 2 miles outside yesterday?
Did Ryan?
No.
Oh.
Mom.
Outside?
Yes.
What was she thinking?
I don't know.
When did she tell you this?
Yesterday when I was at Haley's.
That's crazy. What'd she wear?
She said she went and bought like something to put over her mouth.
That's crazy.
And
she would go out and buy something just to like run outside for one
she
day.
Said never again. So
go return the...
She said it had been a couple days since she ran, so she...
Mom, go to your work treadmill and run inside. Okay, so my long run, which again, at this point, most of my long runs are like getting progressively longer and like are then my new longest run for the training block. So it's 9.5 miles, and I was like, okay, I either run outside, not happening. I'm not running. It felt like 0 degrees, I think.
It is
yesterday.
So cold.
Like if my run had been 2 miles, maybe 3 miles, maybe I would have like bundled up in a way that like, I could make it work. If I'm outside for like almost 2 hours, like there's just, that simply can't be safe. So I kind of just told myself like I am not skipping, and it's cold enough like in the early part of this week that like if I push it off, it just would run, like all my runs would get pushed back. So I knew that I was going to do my run on a treadmill. I was like, okay, I guess we're doing it. Andrew is also, he's currently marathon training, and so his run was 12 miles, and I got a guest pass for my gym, and I was like, I mean, if you need a treadmill, you can come to my gym because his gym doesn't have a treadmill. And he's like, yeah, I can't run outside. So it's also ridiculous to do a long run on a treadmill because, like, you have to fuel and stuff. And so, like, you have, like, your gels, or I had Nerds Gummy Clusters. So, like, there's just, like, sitting on the treadmill. And I did it. I was at between a 5.3 or a 5.5 speed for, you know, an hour and 48 minutes. Just running along.
Look at you
And
go.
it was funny because I miscalculated. I thought I'd have to take, you're supposed to, for, like, whatever calculation I did for my Nerds Gummy Clusters, for, like, how much I need to take to replenish my glucose. I think it's like 6 to 7 pieces. And for whatever reason, I thought I would need to do it 4 times, but I only had to do it 3 times. So it's like then for my last half hour or so, after I, like, did my every half hour replenishing, I had extras, and then I was just kind of, like, snacking on them. Like, every few minutes, I had, like, 6 left for, like, last half hour. So throw one in, wait a little bit, run a little bit further, pop another one. So, yeah. I finished, and then Andrew still had a little bit more, so I was, like, waiting, stretching out a little bit. And we both survived. Ideally, we both agreed never again to run on a treadmill for that long. Pending weather, since it's supposed to be cold this weekend also, I'm supposed to run, I think, 11 miles. I might see if I can shift my run to Friday, because it's supposed to be warmer. So that's my possible plan. So
I think you're doing well with this training block, it seems.
yeah, it feels more manageable. Like, I feel like last half marathon training block, when it was 5 days a week, it felt like it was literally taking over my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, looking back, I'm like, how did I only missed 3 runs. And that's crazy. So this feels more manageable. It's not taking my whole life away.
Good. I was just going to catch you guys up on my weekend a little bit. I said that kind of strangely.
How's your running journey? As people wondering.
I'm just kind of doing it intermittently, and honestly, my knees they've been having a weird week. They're doing okay now. I have been, obviously I'm a PT, so I've been trying to figure out, like, what did I do different? What's the issue here? And they're feeling better, but I kind of can't tell if it was, like, a musculoskeletal thing versus, like, a more systemic issue. Because, like, usually, like, bilateral symptoms can sometimes be, maybe less likely to be musculoskeletal, but, like, also, who knows, maybe you did something where they're both messed up a little bit. I was just having, like, a lot more, like, medial knee pain, but it wasn't painful. Really, it was only painful when I was, like, bending my knee, but not, like, bearing weight through it, or, like, I really wasn't noticing it, except for, like, if I'm, like, open chain bending my knee, I'd be like, oh my god, ow. So I've taken some ibuprofen.
Stop
just, like,
open
with
chain
inflammation stuff. And it's getting better. I think we're hopefully getting rid of whatever was going on, but I don't really know what the issue was. I've had Pezanserine bursitis before.
We are fortunate enough that, like, because we're PTs, like, I feel like we notice, like, the small changes in, like, my body's not moving the way.
Thing. Like, there were some times where, like, there were some moments. Here's the thing. For the most part, like, during the day, pretty low level pain, and just, like, not really something I'm actively thinking about. But, like, the right moment, it would get pretty high, and I'd be like, what is happening? Like, it could get to, like, there were moments of, like, probably 7 out of 10 pain.
Wow.
Just briefly, just short. But yeah. So anyways, I'm glad that's seeming to go away. So on Friday, for kind of my beginning weekend plans, my boyfriend Ryan had a work Christmas party, holiday party. It was, like, pretty delayed. But I was his +1, and it was, like, a 1920s themed event, and they had it at a jazz bar, and they had, like, this private rented out space for the actual event. And I learned how to play blackjack because they had, like, 2 people there with, like, tables to set up, and basically a bunch of the stuff there was you could play or try to win these things to get raffle tickets to then, like, enter different raffle prizes. So I did not do well enough in blackjack to win any tickets for that. Ryan actually got, like, second place, I think, and so he got some tickets for that. And then there was
palm reading, or was it tarot?
There was tarot card reading, which, if you have been around, and we talked about this on the podcast, I'm sure, when we did our girls trip recap, when we went to Boston and Cape Cod with some of our friends, there were some tarot card readers.
No, they were palm readers, I thought.
No, they were tarot card readers.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they were tarot card readers. maybe now I need to like check my sources.
Check the
Anyways,
vlog.
Two of our friends like went and got this done, but like most often it's kind of like they will, tell you, good and bad, like whatever comes up, like you have to be ready to hear whatever it is. And
that freaked us out.
I don't know why, but like that just really made me kind of uneasy because I was like, I could just not know. And,
And I was like, do I even believe in this? Like, I don't even know if I do, but
and
it
so
would freak me out.
This setup here was like a lot more low stakes and like it was a much quicker reading.
Probably like, girl,
and,
keep
like,
it lighthearted.
And so we both decided to go up and do it. So we sit at the table.
Was it free? Like it was just
like everything there was
That's
free.
another thing where it's like, okay, the other one you have to pay for. Don't I pay to have my feelings hurt?
I went first. She told me to shuffle the deck of cards, and then however I did that, she then like flips the top 3 cards over, and like the cards just have like a certain thing on them, like
whatever.
And then she obviously knows what that means, and then she kind of gives this spiel of like how this might relate to my life or what that means or what that could mean for my future. And so 2 of them were like generic enough where like, to be honest, I don't really remember them, but they were all like pretty positive. And then the second one she was saying was something along the lines of like, I'm in an area of like revision in my life. I'm trying to kind of like rework and refigure things out. And she was at least wording it in a way where like my mind obviously immediately goes to us and what we're trying to do with Limitless Rehab and like building our own business with that. And so in that sense, I was kind of like, this does seem, at least like I can see what this is pertaining to me. And then when it was my boyfriend's turn, she, again, 2 of them were kind of generic. I don't really remember them super specifically. But then one was like a little bit more specific to like something he had going on at work and like kind of potentially being offered a chance to like move up, not like a specific promotion, but just like he's talked to me about it and how he's kind of been like, I don't know if I like am ready for that. And like she pretty much word for word basically said like, if you've had something like this come up and you're not feeling ready or you're doubting yourself, then like you are ready and you need to like take that chance. So we were both kind of like, she was kind of strangely specific for both of us. So that was a good experience. And yeah. So
that was the weekend. Book updates. I'm still reading Mistborn. I'm finally like,
I'm actually starting to like it now.
Yes, I am too.
So
I think
thank you guys so much for encouraging us through.
I'm a third of the way through.
I think I'm actually 50-something% of the way through.
Goodness.
Audiobook has been coming in clutch for me. But now that we're at, like, the pace has slowed it down a little bit, which is allowing me to pick better. I feel like
between, like, when are you saying it slowed down?
There's been, like, some dinner parties and evening balls happening. Where,
like, I feel like the beginning,
I'm allowing, it allows me to, like, kind of, like, just be in the moment with them and, like, get to know the characters a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I'm feeling like I actually am a little bit more invested.
I was, like, if you have read Mistborn or if you're going to read Mistborn, when I tell you the prologue, I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Because I was like, who are these people? What is this world we're in? Like, I just feel like I had no context for anything. And I was like, I don't even know what's going on. I don't know how to make sense of this. And it frustrates you as a reader, or at least it did me. Where I was like, well, now I don't want to read this. Like, you know what I mean?
You kind of like give up. You want to give up early on when like you just are having so much fun.
And even like I would say the first chapter kind of like switches gears. Like it's, different location. Now you're with different people. And I was like, well, I didn't even figure out the first part. So I'm like wanting to like throw in the towel again of like, I give up again. So I literally Googled this weekend because I was like, I know I need to make some good ground on reading those books. I have to read it for a book club. And then I have another book club book I need to read. Guys, I haven't finished a single book so far this year.
I finished one. And that's it.
So I'm clearly, behind schedule, my own arbitrary schedule. And I was like, I need to like cover some ground this weekend. So I literally Googled. I was like, when does Mistborn get good? And I think the Google AI overview said like chapter 8. So that was like mentally, I think I was on chapter 5 when I read that. So I was like, okay, just 3 more chapters and like then I'll start picking up. And I think that is when like the first part is over and then like it's the second part. And I will say like that gives you, by the end of chapter 8, you're like, okay, I'm figuring out the characters, like I'm figuring out the premise of the book and like I understand what's going on, at least for the most part. There are still some questions I have, and I still don't fully understand the world, but I'm in it enough to, like, know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So, I am optimistic with the rest of our book.
I am currently kind of dual listening to that while also reading Ministry of Time. I guess probably since we last podcasted, I finished Wildcard. I gave that a 3.5 out of 4 stars, I think. It was fine. I feel like it was a very typical Elsie Silver book, but I just wasn't as invested in these characters compared to like some of her other characters. And then, yeah, I'm reading A Ministry of Time. Slowly working my way through that. I'm trying to read that book with my Kindle, and then I'm listening to Mistborn via audiobook.
My tentative plan for when I'm reading, obviously I want to finish Mistborn. I need to read Fearful by the end of this week. That's for a video that we're doing. And then Dungeon Crawler Carl is going to be my next one.
I'm hopeful I'm ready for that one.
I feel like it sounds like it's like the book that would pull you out of a slump, just because so many people that I've heard talk about it are like, this was such an unexpected
You know what?
surprise.
I really can't let it be something like When the Moon Hatched or whatever. Not that. I'm not thinking of the right book. That yellow book cover where it was like I had to get rid of that book.
The Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
Yes. I hope it's not like that.
But I'm like, again, I feel like Mistborn is like, I'm getting out of a slump. I think Fearful will be quick enough to finish because it's a novella. And I've heard great things about Dungeon Crawler Carl that I'm hoping it's just like a lot of fun and like really high stakes and like minimal.
Just kind of like funny, goofy, silly.
Yeah. So that's my hope. And then after that, I'll have to kind of like reconfigure, because there's a lot of long books on my TBR, like Alchemized, Queen of Shadows. So it'll depend on if I'm ready for those at that next moment.
I feel like you have to like do a long one, do a short one.
Because like Alchemized, I've heard literally nothing but good things. Like I'm sure
we just had a friend rate it like 6-star read.
Yeah. When I get into it, like I'm sure I'll be in it, but like I'll have to like mentally be like, am I ready for this long book? So our manager also, we have a manager now, but he was reading the book. Mm-hmm. He said it was good. So I think that's all of our book updates. Do you have any other book updates to share?
Nope.
Okay. Let's get into some jealousy versus inspiration, what it means to us. Okay. When is a time recently you can think of that you have been jealous? It can be in person, in social media, like when comparison has been like,
I feel like
this
sounds kind of annoying. Like I don't like this. This is my example, but like this is the first thing that comes to mind.
Hey, it's honesty hour.
But like just related to like work-life balance, I get jealous of people in my life who have like more time off than I do. And it's to no fault of their own. And like obviously it's not really to my fault either. I just picked a career in a field where, you know, I don't get the allotted PTO that other people do. But like today's MLK Day, for example, which I don't really care that much about today specifically. Like I care a lot more about other holidays.
It's just like the reminder of like, oh yeah, people have today off.
But it's like, you know, our mom has today off. My boyfriend has today off. Haley and our brother-in-law have the day off. And I don't really care so much about working, but like obviously like most people, if I had the option to not work today and get paid,
that is the question.
Like I would also like the day off. And so in that sense, it just kind of feels like, dang, like what am I doing wrong? Everyone else has like seemingly much better benefits than I do, and like it's just a frustrating thing. So that was my first thought.
Okay. Thank you for sharing with the class.
Okay.
I'm thinking more so like jealousy in like a social media sense. I mean, there's no right or wrong. Like, you know, you get jealous and you get jealous. Sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's online. I feel like, and this is just, I'll say it's jealousy teetering on inspiration, because I feel like it's been a driving force in like a lot of the life changes that
I would say you and I, a lot of just even jealousy versus inspiration can probably just really be a mindset thing, because I would say, you know, even going off of what I had just started talking about, like it's kind of the jealousy that then like bolsters or
you're like,
causes
I
the
feel
initiation.
this way, so now what do I do? Mm-hmm. It's the shift, which we can talk about a little bit. But I'll say, like, you know, every person ever who has watched like influencers on TikTok, social media, no one even specifically, you know, comes to mind, but when people do that full time and they're talking about like, oh, like I get up at, you know, 9 a.m. and then I do this and do that, and like I do errands today, get my nails done, like just the life where, not to say they're not doing anything, because like I understand the behind the scenes of, you know, content creation, influencer marketing, like they are doing stuff, but like objectively it is an easier lifestyle and like an easier day than anyone who works a normal 9 to 5. And so it's just like seeing that, especially like with the way they portray it, like they're supposed to create aspirational lives, and sometimes if you're not in the right headspace to consume that type of content, like aspirational versus jealousy. Like, you know, I think that also highlights, you know, there's like so many people have snark pages on them, and I feel like snark pages are almost the result of like people who are on like the jealous spectrum and don't translate that into like, you know, inspiration, aspiration towards that person's content. Not to say like, you know, maybe they just don't like that person, they just want to be like talk about them, but I do think in some ways that is related. So, but then I can think of, you know, inspiration. We saw that one TikTok months ago. It was literally, there was one TikTok. I wish I could give credit to this person because, you know, she's really possibly changed my life. But it was one TikTok we saw of this girl who's a physical therapist, I think. And she was like, hi, I quit outpatient therapy when I was getting burnt out, seeing 20 patients a day. And I just saw 3 patients today for 1 hour each, and I made more money than I did, or more money than I would have in my outpatient clinic for 8 hours. I was like, hold on, rewind that back. What did you say? And so like that one TikTok, Meg and I were like,
what are you doing?
I wonder. Like, but then our hang up had always been, like, oh, but like that's not with, like, that's cash based, it's not with insurance. And then like the more we looked into it, I will say, if we have any therapist listeners, you might be surprised how much your upper management is taking from the money that you're bringing in. I will say that. So, and this is, granted, this is us saying this. We have not been reimbursed a single penny for limitless rehab. So like, but from what I've seen, even other private practice and cash-based and insurance-based PTs talking about online, you could be making way more money if you do things yourself.
Take out the middleman.
So I'll just put that there, if, you know, plant a seed for you guys. And we do want to talk more about like
once we get more established, our goal is to, you know, share what we've learned.
Like, we don't want to gatekeep any of this information. We want to be a voice for healthcare professionals, specifically therapists, to give some insight, because it would have been very helpful for us as well. But yeah, I feel like that is like peak inspiration for me for social media, because I was like, I'm implementing this life change. Like, something needs to happen, because I want to live this life that she is saying is so amazing. And I will also say, like, one of my TikTok series that I'm doing right now is me trying to showcase like the life that I'm living, trying to build in a way that is like inspirational or aspirational. What's the difference between those two words? Do you know?
I feel like inspirational would be like, I'm inspired to do something, but then aspirational is more so like an action verb. I'm aspiring to do something.
Okay. This is, inspiration is the mental spark or urge to feel or do something, often an external source, while aspiration is the strong internal ambition or hope to achieve a specific, often greater. Okay. So aspiring is like personal, inspiration is brought on by an external thing. Okay. So I'm trying to share this for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's nice to not just like wait and move in silence, you know, quote unquote, until like I have a successful business, and then I say, guess what? I have a successful business, and I'm going to share how I did it, blah, blah, blah. I want to say, I don't know what this will turn into. I have hopes of what this will become, and I want to share what it is as I'm doing it, in case this, you know, encourages or inspires or like, you know, at least informs like, someone.
If you wait to like share the quote unquote success story when it's done, like we're not here to gatekeep anything. You're missing being the driving force and inspiration for anyone else, therapist or otherwise, to like make changes, because the scary thing is the not knowing and starting. Yeah. And they can witness you doing that in real time, and you also don't know if it's going to work out.
Because I have seen, you know, other therapists who have been inspirational to me, of like a speech therapist that I've seen on TikTok who says, you know, I make this much money as a private practice speech therapist and like started my own business, and you should too, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, she started this, you know, time out on TikTok after she's been well established, and I don't fault her for that. Like, you know, she's not obligated to share on TikTok when she's creating it. I don't even know if she had TikTok back then. But I'm trying to be someone who I think would be helpful for someone else starting. Like, imagine, like, you know, I would become well established and someone can scroll back on my page of like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I want to do this. Like, when did she start this? And how did she get started? And I want that content to be there. So that is my hope. And I hope it is encouraging to others. I feel like it shows like the real life hustle and struggle that is then preventing like the jealousy that people might take from it if it's not presented that way. So, okay. Can you think of like anything, that was kind of one for both of us, but like anything business or entrepreneurial wise or just like lifestyle wise that has inspired you on social media?
I would say for sure, like just like you were talking about with TikToks that you've seen, those things are definitely inspirational to me, especially like if I see another therapist that like is able to kind of talk about our specific setting and just what's the word I'm looking for? Just like area of work. That's motivating to me and inspirational. I feel like otherwise it's hard for me to like fitness wise, I'm not really like aspiring to have any like huge big changes. So I feel like in some ways like I kind of have tunnel vision a little bit right now with like I am seeking inspiration and motivation for like our business specifically.
Yeah. I would say I've also not like I get a lot of running content on TikTok, but like I used to get way more like fitness and workout stuff like on Instagram or kind of on TikTok.
I've
mostly Instagram.
been getting so much therapy stuff now. Like
it knows
what I'm consuming. So in that regard, I kind of feel like the areas that you are going to draw inspiration from or what you might be jealous of, because I do think, you know, like we talked about at the beginning,
again,
I think that's just kind of a spectrum of where your mindset is at within those. But like, you know, at a different point in my life, I could have really been, you know, getting a lot of inspiration from like fitness influencers or using that as motivation to drive changes. I feel like when we were applying for physical therapy school, that was like, I was so jealous of like anyone that I knew had like gotten into the Iowa PT program before me. I just was so
like,
badly,
I
want to be you so badly.
Like, give me step-by-step instructions of how to do this.
It's just so funny because it's like we're so far removed from that now to think that that was like my one hope and dream at some point.
And like obviously it came true. So like you can look back in hindsight and say like, oh, I was so nervous for nothing.
But I'm really happy that like, again, I really like that Ciera and I just try to document things as truthfully and honestly as we can, because I feel like it's the most realistic. But, you know, we have that whole PT school documentation, the journey of
I need to like go back at some point and like
every step of the way.
That video, I've like watched it within like the last 6 months.
Makes me cry almost every time I watch our reaction,
because I'm just like,
at least like get a little bit teary-eyed.
And like what's crazy now is like with the hindsight of like we did the whole dang thing now, like, you know, that was 6 years ago. I was like 6-7 years ago.
It always ends up being 6-7. Why?
So funny. Like it was not funny, but now it just is funny because it's just like, oh, there it is. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad that we've been able to document that as well. I wanted to like think of just like, we kind of gave a few examples, but like let's say how one social media post, because I feel like social media is relatable for everyone, can be, you know, the creators putting out a social media post and how it can be portrayed or perceived as something that makes someone jealous or something that makes someone feel inspired. And then let's switch it and say, what can the creator do from their standpoint of like when they're making content? How can they adjust the lens, hopefully to be more inspirational? I don't think anyone intentionally tries to make anyone jealous.
You know what I can think of, like, that just kind of comes, I feel like this is like widely consumed content that like a lot of people at least like know what I'm talking about, but like Utah Running Talk and like those group of girls that like are all, you know, self-employed. It seems not all of them are. Some of them, like I know one of them's like a radiology technician or whatever. But like Lexi Watts, for example, her closet is included in a lot of her like running. Have you seen these videos?
I mean, like I know who you're talking about, but like to say I've seen
the blonde Utah running
is like
girl.
Yeah.
Anyways, when she's doing her vlogs for like a run or whatever, and like multiple of them have this setup, but it's like they obviously have a lot of different running clothes. Okay, so like she has a whole closet just with like just her running clothes, like in rainbow order. Makes for a very aesthetic shot, but like multiple times in just about every single video where she includes something like that, there's comments about like overconsumption or just, you know, then it can like go down into like a rabbit hole of like the fact that, you know, you're self-employed and like this is what you're doing for your job is just like you running, and that's your job, documenting it. And so, yeah.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Let's just say, let's not do anything specific. Let's do,
how it can be inspirational, or do you want to start with like the jealousy?
Let's start with the jealousy, since we kind of alluded to that too with that example of Lexi Watts. Okay, obviously the way that she's, you know, anyone can like pick out like the overconsumption from like excessive clothing shown, that someone might say, I have like, you know, 2 pairs of running shorts and 2 running shirts that I have to alternate between.
Like it'd be a dream to have this closet to choose from.
It could also be like, oh, it'd be nice to run in the middle of the day, but I have to work, so, you know, that makes me jealous. If they are like a good runner, which like I think she is, you know, she qualified for Boston. Sorry if I bumped the mic. Then maybe you're jealous of like her fitness level, and like, I wish I could run, you know, at that pace or for that many miles without getting winded or burnt out or something. And also, like, I know Lexi Watts has some questionable stuff in her past, so we won't delve into that, but like maybe people say like she doesn't deserve this because of what she has been accused of, and therefore like that can increase like the jealousy factor, because they're like, oh, she's not even a good person,
and she still gets to reap the benefits of the influencer lifestyle.
Okay, so that's jealousy. Let's take inspiration. Obviously she has a lot of followers, so like clearly someone likes her. You know, what are they getting from her content that they want to see more of? That's aspirational to them. Obviously, if
I feel like the Utah girls have kind of redefined like running aesthetic almost, in a sense, like the girls group running situation, the coordinated matching outfits, I think that's what's put them on the map, to be quite honest, because they went viral, as far as I know, with like their Halloween running costume a couple years ago, and then since then, like, they've just obviously continued to grow. So I think that's one thing that like is unique to their videos, is the, you know, you kind of have like this universe of characters, if you will, where like they're all friends, you know, you're going to see them in their different videos. They probably show up in their coordinating matching outfits, and it just like, it's, they live in Utah, so it's beautiful where they're running, of course. So
I would say, and again, I don't watch all of their content, but like I have seen some of their videos, and maybe not Lexi specifically, but like people within the group.
The other multiverse
I would
characters.
say something else they've highlighted that I don't feel like a lot of other running influencers have necessarily shown is like the rest breaks, dance breaks, stopping to get a swig. I've seen them do like at one point or something, like, and you're like, oh, in the middle of your run you're gonna do that. So in that way, like them making like, you know, an intense workout like a little bit more lighthearted, I can see people being like, oh, like I don't need to be so hard on myself, like as long as I get it done, I get it done. So that's my example, I think, for us of like jealousy versus inspiration. Let's talk through, we're obviously content creators, we post content all the time, as we just talked about. Do you like cognitive wow, what's the word I'm looking for?
Consciously?
Cognizantly? I don't know.
I feel like
Consciously is probably a better word. Are you consciously thinking about like the lens with which you're either talking to people, recording content, whether it's like what you're actually showing in camera, or narrating content? Do you think of like how is this perceived?
This is like a side note. There are people who are so much better at narrating than I am, like 1,000 times better at narrating, and it comes so much more natural. Like I was just thinking of this with like Morley, whatever his last name is, on YouTube. You have to look him up if you don't know. A lot of times with people who are doing narrations, or like there's like a builder where like I'm watching an hour-long video of them building some sort of home structure, as I do, and like they're narrating the whole process, but like it's so like I'm so invested.
I mean, they have scripts that they're narrating too,
but it's just like sometimes it sounds pretty natural, and I know it's probably all scripted, but like I just am like, wow, but
that's when you say
can't do that.
You're saying you're a consumer, and are you, because you're also a content creator, do you take this as inspiration or are you jealous?
I'm jealous of how easily it seems to work for them. It encourages me to try and do a better job with my own narrations when I do that.
Let's talk through like TikTok versus YouTube. I could include Instagram too, but we both suck at Instagram. Like when we're making different content for these platforms, like how do we try to, because I know like we have seen, if you guys watch our YouTube, like we get a lot of comments of people like saying that we inspire them, and we don't take that lightly. We like to, you know, promote that, like whatever we're doing and we're passionate about, we want to like share that with you guys and encourage you guys to participate in those different things in whatever way is meaningful to you. Obviously, if you are watching us, I would presume we have some similar interests that you like, you know, you benefit from watching us in some way, whether it's like reading, working, just a 9-to-5. Some people like, you know, relatable content creators in that way, fitness, whatever it may be. We're happy to provide that inspiration. I feel like one way we try to consciously, you know, be real with you guys is like we always are all like about promoting balance. And I think that's important with being lifestyle content creators, is that you want to show the idealized version and show how it's possible, but you also don't want to like hold this standard that's not realistic for everyone.
Or like you don't want to place yourself on a pedestal when you know you're realistically just not there yourself.
Yeah. And so Meg and I constantly try to be open with you guys about like, you know, fitness wise. Okay, I was supposed to work out this morning. Oops, I didn't.
Yeah. And like whatever.
It's no big deal. Or like, you know, going to work, and like we love to, you know, show, oh, we can do content creation and work a 9-to-5, but like, work sucked today. Like I think we're very open about that as well. Like even the food we eat, yeah, sometimes we try to eat healthy, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we go to McDonald's or Cane's, and that's fine. And so
none of it's like there's no gatekeeping from you guys.
Nothing is like the end all be all. We're not trying to be holier than thou. We're not trying to show you like, you know, the most aesthetic, picture perfect life ever. I think that's where like our authenticity comes in and like is beneficial for you guys to say, okay, this is like, I like what you guys are doing. Maybe it's inspirational, but like I don't think, we don't get comments ever of like people, you know, expressing
we don't get too much
jealousy,
hate or dislike
yeah,
on our content, which is
good. You know, to the nature of like not being like huge superstars, like at that level, you know, I'm sure everyone gets haters for no reason. No one's made a snark page about us, so we're happy about that. But yeah, I feel like that's ways as content creators we've tried to be mindful of that, and then hopefully make sure that like our goal is never to post this like grandiose, like it's same with like clickbait stuff too. I feel like clickbait can be challenging as content creators. Like you want to get the most views, the most, you know, clicks on your video or thumbnail, and sometimes like clickbaity titles, you want to say like the most ostentatious, outrageous thing you can, which like someone might click on because they have like this negative impression of like, what? You know what I mean? And they're like, they're like, I'm already outraged, and like I'm clicking on it, and they go into the video with like that mindset of like, you know, I'm mad, I need to justify my anger at something. And so like we never post clickbaity thumbnails and titles. Like I think
at least not now. Maybe yes. TC2 sometimes we dabbled and tried it out a little bit.
It's a different type of content. In lifestyle content, we don't do that. But I can think of, this is just a recent example that I came across. And it's, again, I'm not saying it's clickbait, but like it was a thumbnail that I was like, what? Have you ever seen, I don't know if it's Char's Charms or Char's Charms. Have you ever heard of her?
Perhaps.
Okay. Well, I think she's got more followers on TikTok, but I saw a YouTube video pop up on our trending page or something, and it was something about, I'm trying to see if I can pull it up quick, because like I'm going to be like totally making numbers up, but like it was something crazy to the effect of like 24-year-old, like $30 million CEO, day in the life or something. I was like, what?
Okay.
And so I will say my jealousy, you know,
got the best of you, and you're like,
I was like, well, what is your job? B, how are you doing this? Like, you know, my jealousy radar is going off. You know, that to me was not inspiration. I was like, girl, what? I'm jealous of you. And I don't really know anything about this girl's business, so I won't comment on like, you know, I'm just assuming she's being truthful because I have no reason to think otherwise. But that was like an example of, you know, a thumbnail or title being created, you know,
kind of with the
possibly
intent to
like
have...
Can you say that's inspiration? I don't know, maybe, but like it to me comes off as you getting more like, you think people are clicking on it more so for like the outrageousness than like the earnestness.
Yeah.
So
And now I'm intrigued to go find that video.
I mean, honestly, if I'm being totally honest, like, it was kind of a nothing vlog.
Okay.
Like, again, I don't think she was, like, showing a work day in her life. It was, like, Friday night in my life. So it's, like, she and her fiance or something. Like, and it was honestly, like, from what I could tell, very humble, like, living either apartment or house or something in Chicago. Like, it was nothing coming across as, like, braggy in the video. Yeah. So it was almost like a mismatch of, like, the title in the video also, where, like, it's like, okay, we're going to work out at Equinox or whatever, and then, like, or whatever gym they were at, and then, like, now we're going to dinner, and, like, it was a very normal vlog, but it was, like, to me, if you're showing 30 million
like, why
CEO,
why does the context,
why does the title I'm expecting matter? A certain
I'm expecting
level.
You to take a private
I'm expecting
jet
to be jealous, and now I'm not jealous, which is, like, fine, but I feel like, you know, if I were to give her a critique, because she's obviously a listener, maybe, like, day in my life as a 24-year-old, like, self-made CEO, entrepreneur, whatever. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, not to say, like, if you make that much, amazing. Like, you know, I'm not necessarily saying down like that, but, like,
it needs to be relevant for the content of the video.
So, all right, let's talk about different types of social media. Which platform do you feel like is hardest to toe the line between for jealousy and inspiration?
That's interesting, actually.
For me, I think it's TikTok. It's hard, though. It's like, it depends on the type of content you're consuming. If there are certain lifestyle creators that I'm watching on YouTube, then, like, okay, maybe, like, the jealousy inspiration radar is floating. If I'm watching a Morley video, I'm not really thinking anything.
Yeah.
You know? Inspiration or jealousy. Like, I'm just watching to consume. It's like I'm watching a TV show. But it's like the creators that you compare yourselves to, which tend to be more lifestyle, maybe fitness creators, then you're like, oh, now I'm thinking about my life. Mm-hmm. And I feel like TikTok, I get more of, like, the lifestyle stuff.
I would agree with that. I think the other thing, too, is, like, Instagram has almost changed a little bit. Not to say you can't find this TikTok on, or you can't find this content on TikTok as well, because, to be honest, I feel like those platforms and what are being posted is, like, merging more and more every day. But, like, Instagram, I've noticed, has become a lot more of a space where, like, people will, like, you know, have slideshows, but, like, they write text on the photos and whatnot, and it might be,
I feel
like,
influencers are, like, refiguring out Instagram and, like, how
so they might be, like,
using it.
Things that I saw in this photo, or things like they'll do, like, little expectation versus reality almost.
Things I noticed in this photo, but you didn't.
Yeah. And, like, there's just, like, that's a new type of content almost that's being pushed out on Instagram, where I feel like it's a platform that's people are making more and more of an effort to, like, pull down the facade and be more realistic.
I can see that. Do you think, like, as a consumer, the onus is, like, ever on them in terms of, like, how are you scrolling? Are you doom scrolling right now? Like, doom scrolling itself, in some ways, I feel like is when people, like, it's associated with people spiraling. And, or sometimes it's just, like, you know, it can be associated with, like, you know, scrolling for hours with, like, no real intention with what you're searching for. Do you feel like that plays a role into, like, increased levels of jealousy or not?
I would say probably. Like, if you're not being intentional with how you're consuming content, I feel like you're probably more likely to be consuming from, like, a more jealous lens, versus if you're trying to go online and, like, you're really not trying to doom scroll and you're trying to then, like, seek things out for, like, a very specific purpose, then, like, you're going to have, oh, I'm looking for this, or this is what I'm wanting to find. That to me already kind of, like, sets you up to be in a more, like, you're ready to receive info, be inspired, and, you know, you're not really trying to do things purely out of jealousy, versus if you're doom scrolling, you're kind of more aimless. You're kind of letting the internet serve you what it thinks you're going to want to see and engage with, and honestly, sometimes
it can be a double-edged sword.
Emotions are going to be the things that
you get into, like, that pitfall, and then you, like, get further and further into the pitfall, and then your algorithm starts to say, oh, this is what they want to see, and it can send you spiraling even further. I will say, going off of your point, like, the more intentionally I consume social media or just, like, browsing the internet, like, the more happy and like light, I feel, because I'm like, oh, I'm just getting what I'm like wanting to get. And so it can also like reduce scrolling time if you know what you're looking for and like you see the content you want to see, and then you say, okay, that was all, and you put your phone down, and like you don't get into any of like the stuff that gives you that negative headspace to then maybe enter into that jealous frame of mind. Like I will say, like on TikTok, TikTok to me is the hardest because like it's the For You page is like what I'm on.
So I try to keep my screen time implemented.
There's no end time for like when you're done with scrolling. YouTube, I can be like, okay, I saw my, you know, recent subscriptions. That's it. Nothing else.
Like I'm not going to go like YouTube doesn't have, I don't use YouTube Shorts still.
Yeah.
So like YouTube does not have this never ending scrolling video after video.
And like for Instagram, I know Instagram tries to get you to like, you know, go through stuff. I still don't use Reels. So like once I'm done seeing my stuff, I'm kind of done with Instagram and like that's it. And then, you know, TikTok is kind of the only one where it's like, okay, my never ending, you know, feed that I just keep scrolling through. So I will say I've been fortunate enough where like I think I have a pretty good control of my feeds and my algorithms where I don't often get served content where I'm like, ugh, I'm jealous. But let's talk about ways you can control the content you're consuming, aka, you know, muting, unfollowing, all that stuff. Do you think that, like, what's your take on people following people that, like, constantly put them in, like, a negative headspace? Mostly probably for, like, influencers would do this.
I influence, like, you feel like people following influencers is
Yes.
what I would say. If you feel like someone gives you negative thoughts because of their content, you're probably better off muting them at the very least or unfollowing. I just think it's best.
I know someone that we know, I won't say their name in case they don't want to be mentioned, but like they had a separate account for like following like online personalities and social media people, and then they had like their personal account where they'd follow like just friends, family, whatever, and like based off their headspace they could control like who am I seeing and not seeing today, because like for friends and family you don't really need to be in a certain headspace to like view their content versus maybe like social media influencers, you're like I want to like make sure I'm in a good positive headspace and like don't feel down about what I'm seeing based off of, like the life that other people might be posting. So that could be an option if you like still want to follow and support those people but maybe like need to consume their content at certain times. Maybe it's like there are plenty of people where it's like I look at their posts but then I mute their stories for whatever reason. So that could be something you consider as well. Okay. Any last thoughts that are coming up in our last few minutes of the podcast episode?
I feel like I thought this was a fun topic, so I hope you guys found it interesting as well. I don't have any really parting thoughts.
No parting words of wisdom that we didn't share? Yeah, I think that this is a fun topic to talk about just because, like, again, it's you're jealous one minute, you're inspired the next. Like, it's such a fine line, and I think part of it is just, you know, as consumers, we need to recognize that, like, sometimes we're in charge of our own thoughts and emotions despite, like, whatever content gets thrown at us. You need to worry about your own mental headspace to view content through a certain lens. I think that every piece of content that would make you jealous could also serve to inspire you. And so if you find the positive of like, okay, I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling like, why are you feeling jealous? Identify that. Say, okay, I'm feeling jealous because I'm jealous of like the lifestyle that an influencer has that like is difficult for me to come by, whether financially, aesthetically, whatever. Okay, what small changes can I implement in my life to, you know, see those benefits that I want to see in my own life? And like then obviously from you, like if you're not going to be an influencer, like there has to be a different workaround. But, you know, how can you get your life closer to that aspirational life that you would like?
Want it to be, yeah.
So it's all about just, you know, trying to view things through a different lens.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast this week. Make sure you tell a friend to check us out as well. We would appreciate that.
Yeah, send them your favorite episode.
If you have any episode ideas that you want us to cover or do, then make sure you guys DM us or something on Instagram. And otherwise, we will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.